Hey everybody, welcome back to the Spinner Rack. I'm here with my boy Calvin Ellis. Say what's up, Calvin?
What's going on? Ready to rock. Let's do it.
Today we're talking about one of the hottest shows out there. It was dropped on May 4th, aka May the Force be with you, Star Wars Day. It is the Bad Batch. That's right. It's the name of that group. Is that group also known as, the official name is Clone Force 99, and it is the brainchild of George Lucas and Dave Filoni. You know who Dave Filoni is? He's the guy who brought us the Mandalorian, who brought us the Star Wars Clone Wars animated series. Basically, he's the man who's now basically in charge of the TV Star Wars verse. I don't know exactly what they're going to call it. We'll probably have to bring it down somehow. But hey, let me show you some of these guys right now that we were talking about. And here they are. These are the guys, the Bad Batch themselves. We have Hunter in the front. He's the leader, Sergeant Hunter. He has enhanced sensory enhanced senses. He's able to sense droids, which help when you're fighting droids all the time. Also, he has tactical abilities. To your left, you have Tech himself. You know, the brains, genius behind the group. He can break into computers. He speaks various languages. That's your man. He's your intelligence guy. Behind that, the only non-clone of the group is Echo. That's right. Echo was a regular clone warrior, ARC trooper. He got captured by the Separatists, and they made him basically into a cyborg. To our right, we have the man himself, Wrecker. That's right, Wrecker. He's the muscle of the team. If you need something to be taken care of, broken down, that's the man for you. And lastly, there's Crosshair, the sniper. As you can see, they have the Punisher symbol. Oh no, I know people are going to be upset, but yo, that's the symbol that they have, right? So this is just a brief introduction to the team. We're going to jump into the meat and potatoes and stuff. The episode. Do we like them? Do we not? How's it going to go? So before I move on, Cal, is there anything you want to say before we break down the introduction and everything like that?
No, let's get right into it. Let's get right into it.
All right, so cool. So here, the first episode is pretty interesting. The first introduction that we actually get the team while they are in their final mission right now. They're, I think the name is Callum on a planet, and we see the young Padawan, Calum Doob. And when we see Calum Doob and his master or his mistress, it is very interesting because this is, Calum Doob turns out to be one of the guys that we have from the Rebels program. You know, he hides out for several years, basically denies himself, but he is Ezra Bridger's master himself. He becomes a full Jedi. He never, because you see, when this happens, Order 66 happens. And Cal, tell them what Order 66 is, baby.
Order 66 is pretty much how all of the Jedi met their end via the Godfather. Yeah? Order 66 was like some genetic coding that was put into the clones, and this was going to be the Emperor's coup de grace. This was going to be the blow of death, the Denmark, because once he gave that order, every single clone was then going to be looking to take out Jedi. And we already knew how many clones there were and how few Jedi at the time, and so it didn't work out too well. Even though, well, you would think that some of the Jedi would have put up a better fight, but these guys, man, they were like, hey, Order 66. I'm shot in the back. Oh, that's it. I'm done. But no, in all honesty, a lot, some Jedi did make it away, but by that time, Vader was after them. And if you're not getting away from clones, you sure as hell aren't getting away from Vader. With the exception of 3 Jedi who actually were able to keep themselves away from Vader, even though that should have never happened, but that's another story.
Well, I mean, there were a couple others, but they haven't really delved into it right now. But one of the ones we're talking about right now is Caleb Doom, who, if you've seen Rebels, Star Wars.
I didn't watch Rebels.
Okay, no problem. But that's Dave Filoni's baby, and of course he's bringing all that stuff into his Filoni verse or Star Wars verse or Mandalorian verse. I don't know what they're calling it, but he takes a false name, a false identity as Kanan Jarrus, and so he's a major character. He helps to train Ezra Bridger.
Oh, he's Kanan the last Padawan.
Yeah, he's the last one. He changed his name because he's so ashamed of what happened, that he didn't help his master, who was Depa Billaba, and she died. Even though she specifically tells him while he's getting attacked, she's telling him stay away, get away from these guys, because they're like the clones. Like, what the hell is going on? So it's very interesting, and he helps to start the rebellion. Well, the rebellion's actually starting. I know we're drifting. The rebellion helps to start, but he helps to lead it and. It's a very interesting story, and I say if you're interested in finding out more of this, go look into Rebels, and probably one day we'll do a review of Rebels too. But
if you're also interested, if you didn't watch Rebels like me, but you may have read the comic Kanan the Last Padawan, that's actually an interesting. It's a short run, only 12 issues, but it was a fun run.
Yeah. And hey, read it, read it. So what happened here when Order 66 goes on? Before Order 66 happens, Master Depa, she asks her Padawan to see if we can get some reinforcements. The only reinforcements she gets while they're fighting with her clone troopers against the Separatists is Clone Force 99. She's like, what, these 5 guys? I mean, these guys, what the heck are they going to do? But they come in there and they just wreck the place, knock it off, and then basically say, yo, if you want to fight these guys, usually when we knock out the clones, I mean, not the clones, you knock out the robots, you guys go after them. And she's like, okay, let's go do it. And so it's kind of funny, basically, having them going there. But what happens here is that Order, like Cal said, Order 66 is done. And everybody starts going after them. And you're like, yo, what's going on? That, like I said, this is the famous scene that happens with Caleb Dune, aka Kanan Jarrus. You know, they scars him for many years and becoming a Jedi. But what happens here is that it doesn't happen to who? And I have Cal give that to you. What doesn't happen to who? What doesn't happen when Order 66 is put into?
I'm sorry. What's the question?
I'm saying who does not react?
Oh, the Bad Batch, because
Exactly.
they're all defective. Because they're all defective.
Right. The mutations that they have somehow does not work. All except for one dude, though. You know, it seems one dude stayed to the primary course of his and that would be Crosshair, because when they the Hunter realizes that the Padawan gets off, and he goes after the Padawan and say, "Yo, we're not out to kill you." But of course, you know, Caleb Dune's trying to take off because they try to kill him. They try to kill his they're killing his master. I'm not saying try. They're killing his master. So he's trying to take off. These are loyal troopers that he and his master have been fighting with for years, and now all of a sudden they're turning on him. So he's trying to stop him, but at the same time, Crosshair's like, "Yo, bro, we got an order. Do it. Kill him." Right? And Hunter's like, "Nah, there's something wrong here. Like, what's going on here?" I mean, they just entered into the situation. They don't know the whole dynamics, but it's not working for them. They hear the order, but they don't do it. So right there, we get a brief introduction as to what some of the dynamics will later play out in the episode between Hunter and Crosshair, and also how the team falls through. What's your take on that, Cal?
See, the problem I have with this is one of the problems I have with the Clone Wars is that the Clone Wars, the second animated series, not the first one. The first one was in between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith. So that one right over there I thought was fine. And I like the other one too, but the other one is more revisionist history of what happened in those films. Because after you watch this Clone Wars, you watch those 7 seasons, there's no way on God's green earth you would ever think that Anakin Skywalker could be corrupted by the Emperor. There's just no way. He's just, I mean, they wanted to do all this revisionist stuff. Oh, Anakin was so whiny in the movies and this, that, and the other. I was like, but that was the character. That's why he was able to be seduced by the dark side, because he was immature and he was scared and he was insecure, even though he had all this power. That's the story. No, we don't like that, man. We don't like that. He needs to be like Vader. I was like, no, Vader's a totally different guy. Vader's older. Vader's like been committed to this whole thing. He's bitter and he's angry and he's embraced. No, we don't like that. So they decided, okay, we're going to try to make him more like Vader. And they, like, there's no way we believe this. So now you come over here, you get the Bad Batch. Now, first, let me say, hey, look, you know, it's entertaining. The guy knows what he's doing. There's no way that you won't have fun. But then you read this stuff, you're like, well, hey, you know, the Empire should have never gotten as far as it did. And then you look at this stuff over here, like, well, what happened to these dudes? And they could have done something. Look at all this. Look at all these things that these cats can do. So that for me is always an issue, that they tend to come up with this stuff, especially if you're going back to that Clone Wars era. Especially if you're going back to that Clone Wars eras where stuff is still very, their stuff there is still very much in flux, because the Empire hasn't officially cemented itself yet. You know, once they're still giving out Order 66, it's still very much up in the air how things are ever going to come down. Because, you know, there's probably a story of how these guys were like, look, if we could just take out the Emperor quickly now, you know, we can stop this, we can do this, you know, well, here goes 5 guys who could probably help you get it done, right? Right? So,
I mean, but you got to remember that with one Order 66 is done, it cements the control of the Emperor. The Emperor now has firm control of the Grand Army of the Republic. That's all the clones. And then he gets rid of the leadership of the Separatists. You know, while they not like, you're right, they don't control everything, but by that time you have the 2 biggest forces either under his thumb or destroyed. So I mean, by that time he is the Emperor. Is it complete? You're right, it's not complete. I don't know, but in terms of it being iffy, I don't know about it being iffy. I think it's
for me, it's because we know something happens to the clones, because by the time we see A New Hope, those aren't clones anymore. Okay, those are regular guys who are stormtroopers who have like either volunteered or been conscripted, along this. So we know it's not. So we know something happened with the clones in between there and then. They haven't done anything like that in terms of animation or in the films. Might be in a book that they actually addressed that.
They've addressed some of the issues in some of the episodes. Like in Rebels, if you ever see that, they have addressed a couple of the issues that, one, the clones, for them to get to manhood, to become clone warriors takes about 10 years. So at the same time, they're going to also age faster. So that's one. Number two,
they never showed. Okay, well, I guess Rebels, you got to watch Rebels to get some of this stuff.
And so also you have the fact that it's much cheaper to get to have a conscript a soldier or have someone join, because you don't have to pay for the first 18 years of their life, whereas a clone trooper, you got to pay in essence $1 million to get them up to batch. I mean, this is
really
why you got, because they're elite troopers. These are well done. These troopers can probably kick almost anybody, but in all the wars, the only ones who probably beat them will probably be any other in all the pre-wars, the post-wars. They're just that well trained. So it's going to be 1-to-1. You can't. This is all they've been doing all their lives. There's nothing else. But that's why you have them easily defeating a lot of these robots. The robots, on the other hand, the reason they are always around is because those guys, they are so cheap to make. It costs thousands of dollars versus costing $1 million to get a clone trooper. So you can get one of those robots goes off the line every 15 minutes basically. So that's why
I don't know. That sounds a little counterintuitive. I mean, for me, that sounds a little counterintuitive. I would think you would want one over the other. But hey, bottom line is, you would, for me, my salt, especially the way these things go, is like, okay, the Emperor comes in before he can officially solidify his power. I mean, he just made a fast move. Okay, they're still good. Like, they're not the Empire yet. Okay, this is still the Republic. This is what's going to be coming the Empire. And then I'm looking, well, you got these guys over here. They should be able to pull out a hit. You got at least the sniper dude. You should be able to pull out a hit. But that's one of the problems I have when you go back and you want to work in that time period where the time is still very flexible, still very loose. You don't have, it's not solid stuff like when the Empire is, the Empire is officially taking root. Vader's officially, who he's supposed to be, and most of the Jedi are gone. So I do have an issue with them doing that type of stuff because, I always wonder, well, where does this actually fit in the scheme of things? But, I guess you can blame George Lucas. He was like, hey, nothing. He's like, you know what? Sensibility and, sequence of events should never get in the way of what I want to do. So here we are.
I think if you listen to the episode, he did declare himself the Emperor. When he ordered 66, then they have that speech. They come, so after the death of Depa, Master Depa, and then Caleb Dune disappears and stuff like that. They go back to Kamino, which is the cloning facility, basically their headquarters where they were born. And there's a speech by the Emperor basically declaring he's the Empire and him the Emperor and basically like that. And you can see the Bad Batch, they're a little uneasy, like, yo, this is like different. This is like, but all the other clones are just like, yo, this is it. We're following through. We got the chip. Nothing is happening. And so we can already see again the growth in how uneasy they are. They don't know. This is not something they've been dealing with, but it's different, And I think this is also because of the mutations they got. These mutations were some of the things that were given to them by the Caminos, and Caminos are the species that helped to develop the genetic cloning and considered some of the best clones around. There are other cloning methods, but those are another stories. But here, so they go back to Kamino and they come to find out, things are a little bit different now. You have Moff Tarkin, who is like the right-hand man of Vader. I mean, not Vader, of the Emperor. After Vader, the only man I think Vader feared other than the Emperor, and Moff Tarkin had no power,
Vader fears no one.
No, he did fear. He was a little, read the books. Vader was a little.
No, those are the books. I'm not going by anything in a book. Okay, cinematic history overall, that's that.
So Moff Tarkin is the only one that Vader would never challenge. And you could see that in the movie. This is the dude who, and he was the one guy who was like, and Vader, what are you going to do, bro? Vader was just, we digress. So Moff Tarkin, basically, he's there. He's the point man. He's trying to decide whether or not the Bad Batch needs to be kept out. And he puts them through some exercises, live action exercises, because he doesn't like the way that they're unruly. Are they loyal to the Empire and stuff like that? But you could.
No, they're not loyal to the Empire. That's why they're the Bad Batch. We know this already.
And so we see that happening. But what we also see is a split between the rest of them and Crosshair. He starts saying, yo, follow the orders, do what we're told. we have to, survive. But it's pretty interesting that they start separating. And one thing that I get from this too is that I start saying like, hey, why are they not all following? Even if the mutation has stopped the inhibitor trick, it shows that they have developed their own characters after all these battles. They treat themselves differently from the other clones. They call the other clones what do they call them? Regs, right?
Mhm.
So they don't feel that they're the same, and they
But
understand. Sorry.
even with the other clones, when we saw, it was this Star Wars Clone Wars, those last 3 episodes for that final seventh, with that revisionist final seventh season, more revision. But even amongst them, these guys questioned, they, even with the regular ones, they questioned the order. They did question the order, because at one point they're going after Ahsoka and they're going after Rex, and they're like, well, hey, do we have to go after him too because of this? And then he's like, okay, maybe we can play around with the order a little bit. So there is something there, because even though that Order 66 is pretty much an overwhelming piece of programming, it doesn't stop them from questioning. And when you have the questioning, you can actually move from there. So it's not necessarily unique to them, but because these guys are like they're like the misfit geek squad. So of course they're gonna, and then of course we don't have any story. We really don't have any story if these guys are like, yeah, I guess we got to do Order 66, huh? Like, no, we need you guys to be outside of it. One other thing I did want to point out, if you've seen, if you're a fan of like Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos, or G.I. Joe, or Suicide Squad, or if you can go way back and you have did you say Dirty Dozen?
Yeah.
Yeah, Dirty Dozen, the A-Team, where you got this crack group and everybody has a specific skill set. Like, you got 5 different versions of the Hemingway hero at the end of the day. Well, I'm the tech guy, I'm the brains, I'm the brawn, okay, I'm the crazy guy who always comes up with some weird plan to get us out of it. Then we got this, then of course you're going to love this type of stuff, because it really falls into that. And it's just allows for very dynamic writing as well, because while everybody has their role, the fun thing is always to show that these guys, even though they have designated roles, they can still bring more to the table than just that particular role. So the strong guy can come up with a good plan, and the tech guy can knock somebody out, those sorts of things. But then they almost like Voltron, they form this gestalt where they're greater than the sum of their parts. So, if you find yourself enjoying it, then remember those things, and you'll see why it is that you're enjoying it, which is, it's just been a time-honored type of writing style, and time-honored type of character building that just lends to good storytelling. And this is more of that. This is probably going to become one of those things where it's going to fit very well into the history of those type of character groups, where we have these guys getting together with those specific roles, and it just works very well when executed well. And so far, they're on the right path to that.
I mean, one of the things, and it plays into the fact that you have that Dave Filoni said that George Lucas was the one who came up with the idea, and this was something they were going to put in some of the Clone Wars.
Wow, that's scary.
And it got cut, and so when the series was canceled. And so they put it right back on when Disney was like, "Yo, we need another episode." And some people are saying this is really like the 8th season of Clone Wars, because in essence, in season 7 it ends, right? Because Order 66 is given. The war is over, essentially over. He's taken over. I mean, there's still going to be battles or stuff that happens. And now we see what happens to the Bad Batch. We're going to also see what happens to the rest of the clones. You're going to see something happen to the clones, and you're also going to see how society changes with the fact the Empire's here. It doesn't take long before you start seeing people having freedom fighters. So one of the things we see here is that Saw Gerrera, that we saw, a freedom fighter that Moff Tarkin sends out the Clone Force 99 to wipe out. Saying, oh, these are he wasn't calling them rebels, but insurgents or something like that. That they need to be taken out because they are, they're threatening the Empire or the Republic or whatever. And they go there and Hunter realized, hey, they're children here. These are not fighters that we're being told. Crosshair, on the other hand, is like, yo, we got an order, shoot them, kill them, get rid of them. And Hunter's like, nah, we're not rocking like that. And so we get introduced to Saw Gerrera. And Saw Gerrera is important because he was in Clone Wars, he and his sister, from when he was very young, fighting against the Empire, fighting to save their planet. Then you also see in other episodes where he, in Rebels, where he was fighting to, he'd become I wouldn't say deranged, but he was what do you call a freedom fighter against the Empire, where he's like, it doesn't matter the cost, we just got to do it. And so he's going to that extreme situation where he has to do, where he believes things have to be done no matter what. He's a forever rebel, basically. And so we see this gradual. I mean, his thought is there, and what he has to do from the very beginning. But it's pretty interesting. They also bring him into the mix, because he's, like I said, he's one of those forever rebels, constantly rebelling against people, constantly fighting against people and stuff like that. So and of course that's a turning point, because once again they don't do the order that they're given by Moff Tarkin, and Crosshair gets more and more like, these guys are out of sync with what happens. I don't think it's because just Hunter has a strong pull on them. I think the group just feels like this is just wrong, and they start separating.
Well, I would hope so. I would hope so.
Well, I mean, they have the chip.
If not, we've got no show.
No, but they have the chip, and that the chip is a strong. It really wipes out all biases. It's to control them, and it's pretty. And they did this to thousands, hundreds of thousands of clones. Also, I want to go back to when they get back to the Kamino, they get introduced to a new. Well, we don't know what it is at first. A young girl, and later on we find out that she's what? A clone. They've never had a female clone, which is very interesting. And
no, it's not.
Why now? Why now develop a female clone at the very end?
Because they always got to put a chick in it.
And so what ends
they
up?
Always got to They always got to put a chick in it. There's always got to be one. That's like one of those trophies. Okay, you got the black best friend. You got the chick. Okay, and so they held out as long as they could, but now we got to have a female clone, and then of course we got to wonder if she can get pregnant and have female clone babies. I'm like, no,
Child, we're not even there. We're not even there yet, bro. That's
pretty much going to be on the pike. Okay. That's coming down the pike.
So the next step is we're also going to happen is that they get captured and they're put away because they're not doing what they're supposed to do, and of course Crosshair joins the other side, and lastly they escape. So I mean that's really it in a nutshell, basically. But they take the female clone with them, and
because Crosshair is gone. So now instead of a 5-man group, we got 4 guys and the chick. So we got like the Scooby Gang at the end of we got the Scooby Gang at the end of the day. When they do that type of stuff, I was like, oh, good grief, you guys just couldn't resist, right? You couldn't resist. You just had to go for the low-hanging fruit. And then I'm like, you got some chicken here. Why? Because they always want our stuff. Okay, they always want our stuff. You don't see us trying to join.
We're going.
You don't see us trying to join. You don't see us trying to join the chick stuff, right? But they always got to come and be a part of our stuff.
So I think you're going to have another. In future episodes, we're going to see Fennec Shand, who was in Mandalorian. She was a sniper. I don't remember the first season. He thought he killed her, but no, she didn't die. She was revived by Boba Fett. And so she was working with him. That's played by that's voiced by the actress Ming-Na Wen from Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's like she's going to be coming back, and it looks as though since she's already a sniper and a mercenary, she's going to be working with them. And the Bad Batch is going to have to figure out a way to survive, because before everything was provided by the Republic, and now they're going to have to be on their own. So it's pretty interesting what's going to be going on there. Also, we also see that Kamino seems as though the Empire eventually devastates Kamino, and that's going to probably what ends up happening to the Kaminoans and stuff like that.
Okay, don't give the people too much, and don't mix what's going on with the show with your incredibly vast knowledge from all the books that you read.
I take offense. Okay? I didn't read tons and
tons. No. Yeah, you did. Okay, yeah, you did. I know how much reading you've done. All right, so forget that. All right, so don't do that to the people. Not everybody watched Rebels. Not everybody read every single book with Han Solo at System's End. Just give them the parameters that they need with this show. Stop showing off. Nobody needs to know all that.
So listen, Cal, overall, what was your impression of the show? Did you like it? Did you not?
Oh, no, without a doubt. I mean, look, I mean, part of the reason why we do these shows is to provide some criticism, not just to review, spouting about, I love it, this, that, and the other, but, to really try to provoke a little thought about what it is. And then hopefully that promotes some more enjoyment. But this is off to a really, unless you disagree, this is off to a really good start. I mean, I really want, I definitely want to see more. I like the only, and this is probably another criticism, is that we're getting 3 episodes to start. if I remember correctly. We have 3 episodes to start. And I'm like, okay, so what's going on? Well, you guys can't start off with just 1 episode. Okay, what do you guys make these episodes and look back on them like, oh man, we'll never get away with 1 episode. We gotta show 3. I said, if that's the case, if we're gonna see 3 at one time, okay, if we're gonna see 3 at one time, then why don't we come over? It's like, why don't we come over and get why don't we come over and just get like all the episodes at one time so we can just watch them at our leisure, or we can just binge watch at the end of the day. I mean, it's not like this is some uncommon practice, because TV has done this for years, where the first episode is, like 2 hours long, and that was really like the first episode and the second episode. So they at least try to give you a complete story at the end of the day. But then I'm always asking, well, since every episode afterwards is just going to be an hour, why did you just do that? Do what you needed to do in terms of the hour. But it's supposed to be big, draw people in. But I think they're off to a solid start.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to disabuse you of that. It's not an hour. It's going to be 27 minutes or something like that.
No, I said TV. I said, look, TV in terms of just for an example.
Okay, got it.
I know the show's much shorter.
Okay, just because I was just talking to somebody who was like, yeah, man, we're going to get a show an hour every. I said, nah, bro, you're not getting an hour every time. It would be great, but it's not going to happen. So it's yeah. I think
that's where you get people, because people are like, oh, this is great. Every show is going to be like an hour and a half, and it's going to be this action packed. Those are good. No. Next week you're going to get 27 minutes. 27 minutes. 27 minutes.
It's coming out tomorrow, so they're having an episode tomorrow. 27 minutes. So.
27 minutes. Oh, that's even worse. He's like, oh, wait a minute. So I got an hour and a half, and then I got a 27-minute episode. I got 4 episodes in 1 week, and then after that, it's going to be 1 episode at a time. This is ridiculous.
1 episode at a time. You're right. Is
this America or not? I want freedom.
Hey, the WandaVision had like 22-minute episodes. I think one was a 22 or 25 minutes. It's like, what? Live action? No frigging way. But look, I think overall I agree with you. I think it was a pretty good episode, good setup. I think I explained what's going on and the world that we're in. And I definitely agree with the feeling of some people that this is really like a Clone Wars 8. What happened after the war. And I think that this is an area that they haven't really explored much. They've talked, like hinted here and there, but definitely to have the protagonist being the Bad Batch, people who have unique points of view and seeing what happens and how they have to survive. Because, in this world, if you have someone like Moff Tarkin coming after you, you better be running fast or running to the
okay, nobody knows how bad Moff Tarkin is except you,
the Death
nerd,
Star, bro,
who read all the books.
The Death Star. Rogue One. Did you see Rogue One when he just took over the Death Star from dudes? Like
no.
Housing, baby.
Moff Tarkin, as we see over here in the films, is nothing like what you're presenting. You're going by what you've read in the books.
No,
thank you, super nerd. Okay, nobody needs to hear it. Let everybody come into it on their own. Cut it out.
Yeah, I'm gonna cut it out. Don't worry about that.
Moff Tarkin was the only guy that Darth Vader feared, and but yeah, whatever.
Definitely cutting this out. So listen. Overall,
Tarkin was the same guy we saw in Star Wars, and what did he do? He ended up being Death Star fodder. Okay, that's why nobody's gonna take what you're saying seriously. It's like, isn't that the guy who's Moff Tarkin? Or remember him in the Death Star? It's like, isn't he the guy who was overconfident, got blown up with the Death Star, even when he had the opportunity to leave? Yeah, that guy.
Say, yo, is that the guy who was in Rogue One who took over the Death Star? And they're like, yo, he was bad. Is that the guy that Darth Vader didn't try to use any power? Yeah. And Darth Vader, he told Darth Vader,
the very next time we see him is in what? Star Wars, right after Rogue One. Where is he? He's dead. He's dead.
He's the guy who tells Darth Vader, yo, stop. Listen. So overall, we like the episode. I think everybody should go out there and watch it. And I think it's going to be an interesting series. Spinner Rack?
Out. You don't have to read the books.
No, you don't.